Oh, hey everybody, welcome again to episode 3 to Fight Fix with Frankie Barca. I'm going to be giving my predictions on the preview of UFC127 coming live out of ASA Arena in Sydney for Australia's second showing for the UFC. Of course, it's BJ Penn and John Fitch. I'm going to go through the John Fitch, BJ Penn fight, of course, the Jorge Rivera and Michael Bisping fight, the George Sotiropoulos against Dennis Siver fight, and also the last one I want to talk about is Chris Lytle, and Chris Lytle's fighting against Brian Everson. That's right. So that's going to be a great fight. So I'll just start from the Brian Everson fight first. Obviously, Chris Lytle, he's got great striking. He's got power in both hands. He's got knockout power in both hands. He's got great wrestling. He's got takedown defense. He's also got unbelievable jiu-jitsu, which in recent times has been really at the forefront of his game right now. But for ages, we never really knew Chris Lytle as a submission specialist, and he definitely is. And it's always exciting to see. And, he was fighting on the Sydney card last year, and he pulled out a beautiful spinning knee bar submission to win that fight and to get the submission of the night. So Chris Lytle is going to be very, very prepared for this. He's a veteran in the UFC. He's not new to pressure and having to really be tested and to bring up the goods against good competitors. Brian Everson is an American. He's been established here in Australia for a while, fighting on the local scene around Australia. He's fought guys like Adrian Pang and Hector Lombard and lost a very close decision against Hector Lombard. Ian Schaefer as well. So he's fought some of the cream in this country, that's for sure. And his strengths, his striking is very sharp. His wrestling is excellent. Very, very dangerous wrestler. And his submissions, he's known for his submissions, and that's most of the percentages of his wins come from. But Brian Everson, make no mistake, he's ready for this fight. He's been training here with Dominance Martial Arts Academy, I guess, or Dominance BJJ. He's put in some good work. He's been training with Ed Bevlock as well, over to the eastern side, and been working hard with Ed. Brian Everson is going to be bringing it. He's going to be a force against Chris Lytle. Look, Chris Lytle, like I said, is very, very dangerous with his hands. He's got power in both punches, knockout power. So, and Brian's been out there with some of the big strikers too, like Hector, as I mentioned earlier. So, hard one to pick. Well, Brian Everson is almost like our adopted brother, so I'm gonna go for him. But Chris Lytle, he could put his lights out real early, so we'll see how that pans out. Also, I'm going to move now to the George Sotiropoulos Dennis Siver fight. My opinion on this fight, obviously, I was speaking to Eddie Bravo on the phone a couple of times this week. George is looking amazing. He's in excellent condition. He's always in shape. He's always prepared. He's always mentally prepared. He lives and breathes every second of his preparation for this fight, for the whole preparation period. His work ethic is legendary. He's got great hands. He's been working hard with his hands. Obviously, his jiu-jitsu is fantastic. Being a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt and working hard with Eddie Bravo and the likes of those guys is definitely adding a dimension to his ground game. Obviously, he's fantastic on the ground. His Kimura from the top and his passing is unbelievable. We're looking forward to seeing that. Even his fight off his back is very impressive. So for Dennis Siver, as a pure kickboxer, probably one of the best kickboxers in the lightweight division, makes an interesting fight and is always very, very dangerous. Dennis Siver is renowned for his kickboxing. Naturally, he's got knockout power in both hands and his legs. He's not afraid to stay in the pocket and slam and exchange and bang. But one thing he has is his spinning back kick, and his spinning back kick to the liver has been very, very successful for him in the past. So Dennis Siver is going to be bringing that. The way I see it, I don't think George is going to stay in Dennis's range. That's for sure. George is going to want to take him down and get control submitting. Now, Dennis Siver has been working hard on his wrestling. He's always doing that to improve and also working hard on his jiu-jitsu. But if George Sotiropoulos gets the fight to the ground, which I anticipate he will very, very early, he'd be smart to do that. I can't really see Dennis Siver having enough in his arsenal on the ground to do enough to survive on the ground. Maybe enough to his takedown defense, or maybe good enough with his left underhook to be able to use that to get up. And George is used to taking people down not too close to the cage, so it's not going to be an advantage for Dennis Siver to cage walk at all. But I really see it being an interesting fight. It's not an easy fight for George Sotiropoulos. A lot of people have saying that, Dennis Siver, George is going to walk all over him. Yeah, maybe. On paper, definitely. And first impressions, definitely. And I don't doubt that either. But Dennis Siver's dangerous. He's explosive. He's very quick, and he's got knockout power. So with 4 ounces and a lack of concentration, anything can happen. But George, he's a technician. He's a master at this. You know, his winning streak is eight straight fights in the UFC. So, you know, they're both definitely contenders for the lightweight title. If Dennis Siver can knock out George Soropoulos, there's no doubt it's going to put him in a title picture. That goes without saying, because George Soropoulos is, I reckon, 1-2 fights tops away from having a title shot. So, that being said, interesting. Obviously, my heart, my soul is for George Soropoulos. He represents Eddie and 10th Planet, and we love him for that. And we love him as a fighter. Look, he's, without doubt, the best Australian fighter in the UFC. That goes without doubt. I just can't wait to see George fight. I just can't wait to see. I'm going to see George on Saturday. I'm going down to the weigh-ins, meeting up with Eddie and George, etc. So I'm going to be heading down. Looking forward to seeing him. Start rehydrating after the weight cut. It's going to be exciting. So I'm looking forward to that fight, definitely. Also, the next fight I want to talk about is Jorge Rivera against Michael Bisping at 185. To be honest with you, Michael Bisping has been amazing in his showing his display of his stand-up striking and some chin. Especially we saw that against the Akiyama fight. And he showed us some very, very good skilled boxing and kickboxing in that fight. And that's all he really needed to rely on to beat Akiyama. It's actually interesting that Akiyama didn't bother to take him down. But anyway, that's another story. But definitely Bisping's ability to, and how sharp he's worked on his conditioning and his fitness is extraordinary. He always comes in shape, and his striking is just getting better and better. So Jorge Oliveira is definitely, if he can knock out Bisping, now he's knocked out the last three opponents, and if you don't forget, have a look at what he did in Nate Quarry. He's not the most perfectly technical fighter, but he's got knockout power in both hands. He's not afraid to take it down to the ground. His takedown defense is great. His work up against the cage is great. His ability to really frustrate you is fantastic. And look, you know, if he can touch Bisping and knock him out, I'm sure he will take all that momentum and all that press and all that interest that Bisping has created in his last, few years, and just put that straight into Jorge Rivera by just sapping this victory out of Bisping would definitely put him up to high-profile status at the 185-pound division. So, you know, do I really believe Rivera's got enough to beat Bisping? I don't know. I really think Bisping has got enough experience and strategy and experience now to take out Jorge Rivera. Although he's a veteran, and we've seen him, you know, win his last 3 fights and knock out 2 guys. He's on a rampage. His confidence is sky high. Anything can happen. My bet's on Bisping, but let's see what happens. Now, moving into the final prediction of the main card, which is obviously BJ Penn, John Fitch. When this fight was signed, or when this was announced originally, man, I had nothing but a huge excitement for it. To see BJ Penn, who's my all-time great. I just love BJ Penn. I'm a massive fan of BJ Penn forever. And of course, George St. Pierre as well is becoming, and Anderson Silva become my 3 top picks, you know. But, BJ Penn, after coming off that 21-second knockout victory over Matt Hughes, I mean, that must have just raised his confidence sky high, and you could just see the fight in his eyes. And if BJ Penn comes in incredible condition, I always say this, if he comes to fight, what I mean by comes to fight is that he's ready to go. He's got the anger, he's got the fire, he's done the prep. You know, he's been very active and worked hard. I think he's going to be too much for John Fitch, and you know, I don't know whether people know this, but Matt Hughes actually did a lot of the camp with BJ Penn. He invited Matt Hughes to help him out prepare for the John Fitch fight, and he agreed. The respect they have for another is amazing. BJ Penn talked about having, you know, real technical days with Matt Hughes, brutal days with Matt Hughes, and real playful days as well. You know, just working and swapping ideas and just working on finer details of maybe the ground game or maybe some of the wrestling that Matt Hughes is renowned for. So I'm super excited about this fight with John Fitch for BJ Penn. I mean, to see him come again so soon after he knocked out Matt Hughes, I think it's just got a potential fight of the night written all over it. John Fitch, if he can knock out BJ Penn, man, that is just going to launch him straight back into the title picture again. Obviously, John Fitch, you know, has felt that a little bit neglected in the division, feeling that, you know, the fans haven't given him that as much love or have given him enough acknowledgement. But, being such a grinder, John Fitch has got excellent conditioning. His work ethic is amazing with a wrestling background. Usually these boys at wrestling, if they survive training, it's one thing, and to come to the fight, it's no big deal. It's the training that they're so renowned for, and their work ethic and discipline, and just the amount of conditioning. And John Fitch knows that. And he's coming to win. He's coming back. His last two fighters, two fights he's had, very impressive against, especially after the Thiago Alves fight. He just dominated him. It isn't a thing of beauty. He hasn't been renowned for his incredible, amazing, finishing, but performances have been great. He's just a grinder. He'll get you down and he'll pound you out. If BJ Penn I think he should keep this standing. I think his takedown defense is going to be really tested. I hope he's got his mind switched on immediately, because John Fitch is going to want to take him down quick and want to ground and pound him out and tire him out and wear him down. So this has got a great fight potential, but also if BJ Penn is stuck on his back, it's going to really come down to his jiu-jitsu. I hope his jiu-jitsu is going to come into this factor. I would love to see BJ Penn really throwing his legs up and setting some submissions up off his back. I reckon it would just be amazing to see a jiu-jitsu fighter as well, like Penn, to submit a wrestler. So that would be great for the jiu-jitsu people. But for the wrestlers, the hardcore wrestlers who love the grinding out, as we saw with Randy Couture, Mark Coleman, these kind of guys, Kevin Randleman, these kind of style fighters, obviously John Fitch is your boy. So, anything can happen. My money's on BJ Penn. I love John Fitch as well. I love what he offers for the cage. And, BJ Penn, grappling, great striking, excellent takedown defense. Fitch, great wrestling. He's got some good hands. He's dangerous and got knockout power. But his takedown's great, and his ground and pound inside the guard and half guard is dangerous too. So it makes a great fight. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an awesome card. To have the UFC back in our country, in Australia, is amazing. It's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to catching up with Eddie Bravo, my coach, and George Soropoulos and some guys over there at the UFC. And I hope you're enjoying the blogs. This is episode 3. Thank you very much for tuning in. Last thing, I just want to mention that on the 12th and 13th of March 2011 in Jeff Shed here in Melbourne, there is the FITCH Expo. It's showcasing all the most popular mainstream sports worldwide, with seminars and all sorts of different things going on and activities. And a big part of it is they've invited the MMA culture to come through. So we've got Forrest Griffin, Rashad Evans. We've got Cain Velasquez. I think did I mention Forrest Griffin as well? I'm just going to quickly check my list real quick. Where are we? Bisping, Evans, George Soropoulos, Czech Congo, Dominic Cruz, Clay Guida are going to be there as well. So, at the FITCH Expo. So, another important thing you should consider, it's a great opportunity for us fans here in Victoria to connect more with the UFC, some of the UFC's best, or also Ryan Bader's going to be the Kenny Florian perhaps as well. So, it's all happening. 12th and 13th of March, 2011, FITCH Expo. Go to www.FITX, that's FITX.com.au, for all your ticketing details and purchases. Also, last thing real quick, that's it. I've got it all done. I've dotted my I's, crossed my T's. Again, Frank Barca here for Fight Fix with Frankie Barca. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 3 is done. Looking forward to the results next week. And I'm going to be wrapping up UFC 127, BJ Penn versus John Fitch. Enjoy.